Tell your favorite lady to turn on the TV right now. We want her to get a little wealthier by throwing out some myths about money. My next guest is Manisha Thakor. She is the author of the book On My Own 2 Feet. Welcome to the show.
Hi, Mary.
Hey there. Now, I love this because you really are gearing this book towards women in their 20s and 30s when you say that that is the prime time to be making great financial decisions instead of dumb ones, right?
It really is. And the key thing is, if you do a few simple things right in your 20s and 30s, save, invest, protect, literally you will put yourself on the path to financial nirvana.
I love it. Financial nirvana. That's a good one. Now, I want to work back from your list of 5 here. You say there is no need. This is the myth now. There is no need to talk money with my honey. Okay? So I like this because I know women in their 20s and 30s, when they're dating, don't like to talk money. And that really is a great time to start doing it. Having an open conversation.
It's so true. My co-author Sharon Kadar and I, we like to say, if you're willing to take your clothes off with someone in one way, you need to be willing to take off your clothes with them financially. Literally, get financially naked. If you're going to have a lifelong commitment, you don't want to be a statistic. You don't want to be one of those couples that fights about money. Talk about what you own. Talk about what you owe. Exchange your credit scores, not to judge each other, but so you can build your relationship from a solid foundation.
And it's a two-way street. And don't be afraid to have a conversation rather than just all full disclosure by yourself. It's important. And when you're, now obviously you don't do this on the first or second date, but when you start to see somebody more seriously and you're trying to decide, is this somebody for me, you need to have that talk.
Precisely. And you know, it's an awkward conversation. It really is, but truly it's one of the best investments in your relationship because, again, one of the #1 causes of fights, of divorce, of stress in general, it's money. And women oftentimes feel you shouldn't bring it up because you might sound like a gold digger. But honestly, it's one of those subjects that can bring you closer together if you speak about it truly from your heart.
And if you are talking about it, then people realize you really aren't because you're putting your cards on the table, which I think is such an important point. But you're great. Bust that myth. That's wonderful. Now, another one, credit card debt isn't all that bad. Now, I think most of us know that's not true, but when we see a great pair of shoes, we can justify it pretty easily.
It is. And so here's the #1 thing a young woman in her 20s and 30s needs to know. If you put those shoes on that credit card and you make only the minimum monthly payment, you've just doubled the price of those shoes or whatever you charged on the card. Credit cards are not free money. And so when you think about it in that framework, you can ask yourself, do I really need to be doing this?
All right. Now tell me why it's a good idea for me to start saving for retirement when I'm 25 and I can barely make the rent.
Well, the best example I can give you is to compare 2 girlfriends, one who did and one who didn't, Amy and Zandra. Both of these gals save $5,000 a year for 10 years for the retirement. Amy starts at age 20, Zandra starts at age 40. 10 years after starting to save, each one of them has life events that causes them to have to leave work. They don't save anymore, but their money continues to grow. Fast forward to age 65, Amy has a nest egg of $2 million. Zandra has a nest egg of $300,000. It's not chump change, but Amy has 7 times more money than Zandra because she started saving earlier. The money you save early on, hands down, the most valuable money you'll ever have for your retirement.
And I like to say this, if you like having money in your 20s and 30s, you're definitely going to like having some money in your 60s and 70s. So it makes a whole lot of sense to be holding some cash aside for those rainy days. Now, a lot of people start saying, well, I'm going to start saving that cash when I'm making a little bit more money, and I'll have the opportunity to do that. I'll wait for my next pay raise. That seems to make sense, you know, wait till that pay raise.
And that is one of the biggest myths that I'd like to bust right here tonight, and that is you can save on any salary level as long as you're making a living wage. I've met people who can save on salaries of $30,000 a year. I've met people who can't save a penny on salaries of $300,000 a year. So it's a commitment, it's a mindset, and if you decide you want to look through your expenses, you can find something to trim back on.
Yeah, it is all about making a decision. And finally, I did a conference with this same line, which is one of my favorite. It is, a man is not a financial plan, or as the myth says, the man is the financial plan.
You know, it's so true, Mary. Here's the statistic, and it makes my hair stand up on my arms every time I say it. 80% of men die married. 80% of women die single. The men may say we're killing them off, but the truth is it's high divorce rates and women have statistically longer lifespans. You may think it's not going to be me, but 90% of women, we will be the sole providers of our personal finances at some point. It's imperative that we learn about money, and the sooner the better.
Manisha Thakor, great advice. Thank you so much. Of course, the book is On My Own 2 Feet. Thank you for joining me.